Welcome to another fantastic episode of Not Just Parkinson's. My name, of course, is J to the MAC, joined by my friend and friend of the show, the very talented Keith Levenson. How's it hanging, bro?
It's hanging.
Now, the one time we met was you were actually working.
Yeah, occasionally I actually work.
Now, describe. I don't want to bury the lead here, but you work for one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. Want to just describe what you do for The Who?
I would say it's a multifaceted job. The least important is that I conduct the orchestra. The most important is that I try to keep the two of them from killing each other.
Are you giving me a little inside info?
A little bit.
You know, I
don't think it's anything that anyone who is really a Who fan or who follows the Who. I don't think I'm saying anything that hasn't been said.
Well, you know, I read Roger Daughtry's biography, and yet he's pretty open about sometimes actually got into fistfights.
Yeah, both sides.
Wow, so that's kind of like fly on the wall stuff right there.
Or fly in the ointment.
Well, it was very nice to meet you. You were taller than I expected, I got to tell you. And of course, I was shorter because I was sitting down in my wheelchair.
Well, I'm glad I look taller.
Yeah, I mean, as a short guy, I'm always kind of jealous of people that are taller than me. So I'm jealous about like 75% of the population. I love short people because I'm taller than them. I'm only 5'7".
Well, that sounds like great judgment.
5'8" when I'm doing yoga. All right, so yes, as you know, we talk about more than just Parkinson's on this show, but I just wanted to start off, kind of get a baseline of where you're at as far as when you were diagnosed, because the people want to know, Keith. So when were you diagnosed with Parkinson's officially?
2014.
That was a year after me.
Oh, you're winning.
I wouldn't say that. Winning. What were some of your first symptoms? What made you know something was wrong?
Tremors, shaking. My sleep was all kinds of screwed up. And I didn't feel right. I mean, it had been going on, whatever it was, which turned out to be Parkinson's, had been going on for a long time. Just I think it kind of felt like living outside of myself.
I just felt incredibly run down all the time, and people were calling me lazy, and I'm like, I wish I was lazy, but you could. And I would tell people, and they're like, no, you're just depressed. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm depressed because I feel like crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I definitely experienced that.
How did you tell the band? How did you tell Roger and Pete that you had Parkinson's? I'm assuming you were working for them at the time.
No, actually, I wasn't. It was about a year or two before. And if there's a funny part of this story, this is the funny part. I didn't tell them. But then we were going, I forget, maybe it was just an American tour, but they needed insurance on everybody who they determine a principal. So that's Roger, Pete, Zach Starkey, Lauren Gold, our piano player, John Button, our bass player, me. Maybe that's it. It essentially insures the Who against what happens if they have to cancel the show because of Roger's voice, or Pete breaks his hand, or in my case, it had nothing to do with Parkinson's. It was like, oh, if you get hit by a bus, we're in trouble because we have no one to cover you.
Well, yeah,
that
that would be bad. That would be bad if their sound guy, if their orchestra conductor and their wrangler got hit by a bus.
yeah, we since a couple of years later we changed that. So skipping ahead, I had to fill out these endless British medical forms, like 20 pages of your medical history, and you really can't lie because they'll go back and find you in a matter of weeks. They'll find you. And of course, if you lied and something did happen, it would be null and void anyway. So I went through the insurance thing, submitted the papers to their to Who management, and they sent them to the insurance company. And I guess this was 1916, somewhere in the middle of July. We were actually playing a gig at Forest Hills in New York, and the manager runs up to Roger and says, "We have a problem with no, problem wasn't the word. There's an issue with Keith." And Roger said, "What's that?" And he said, "He has Parkinson's." And Roger's response was, "That must be why he's conducting so much better."
What does that mean?
Well, whatever it meant was, I I never got I never got fired, and I don't think that I have been. I mean, now everybody knows, it's not a well-kept secret, nor have I tried to keep it that way. And there's some minor accommodations that they've had to make, but I mean, just nobody really, in the best of ways, nobody cares about anymore.
Well, that's good for you. I remember when I was diagnosed, of course, I wasn't conducting an orchestra, but I went immediately told my boss because I had a physical job. And also, I wanted them to know what was wrong with me because I'd been dragging my ass around for, I think I can say ass. I think that's an acceptable word on this channel. Uh, so yeah, I get it. Let's move away from Parkinson's because I really want to talk to you about music. You're probably the guy that's probably the top of the food chain as far as employment goes. I mean, I've worked with some fantastic musicians over my years, but you are in a very special case, my friend. So, what were some of your early musical influences? I'm really interested in this.
A rock fanatic, a pop rock fanatic, particularly when prog rock became a thing, like going back to Yes and Renaissance, ELP,
Rush.
Later Dream Theater. A lot of keyboard centric uh electronic bands, because I was a piano player, and I mean, like Rick Wakeman was a hero. He's a hero. So bands like that, which was the complete opposite of the piano lessons that I was taking. Like, you didn't play in the year 25 in your piano lesson. You played like a Clementi sonatina until you were ready to drop dead. I also, to throw in the mix, when I was four or five, I had an accident and fell with some glass milk bottles. We had milk bottles then, and the hospital just sewed up the wound, which was pretty considerable, and never really bothered to look for glass. So it was maybe months later till the glass had actually worked its way through my arm.
Oh my God.
So it cut the nerves to the last two fingers on my left hand. Um,
which is
Now,
which is your bass hand on the piano.
right. I mean, I think I can say with confidence that even if that happened, I wasn't going to be a concert pianist anyway. That was more the desire of my mother than me, because I was a kid.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't think most kids are on their list to be a concert pianist. I'm sure there are some. I mean,
there are,
I dabbled with the piano. And our mutual friend Sam Wade, I don't believe I think his mom gave him lessons, but the dude can just flat out play, and he's just such a natural. And I think Sam could have been a concert pianist if he really put his mind to it. But yeah, that's a lot of work. That's
well,
you're basically
that's your life. I
yes.
mean, I know plenty of people who followed that path and have gone to really unsuccessful careers.
Well,
Because what's I don't mean to be mercenary, but what's the market? Is
no, you're
is
right. You're right. I mean,
essentially
I played in cover bands because cover bands paid, and I was trying to
right.
pay for my hobby. And I mean, and nobody really wants to play Jesse's Girl. I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm sure
No,
there's some people, but it wasn't satisfying artistically. But it was. Let's be honest. I spent more than I made, but at least I was making something. So I can totally see the need to make money to justify your hobby. That leads me to my next question. How at your peak, how many instruments could you play well, or are you just a piano guy?
I'm really just a piano guy. I was a passable guitar guy, but I'm a righty, and so when like these last two fingers on my left hand, they've never really gotten better.
Oh, okay, yeah. So your
I mean,
chording hand would be jacked up.
a bar chord is like almost an impossibility for me. When I play the piano, I'm just banging down there. I'm just taking a good shot.
Kind of like how I play guitar now. I'm just smacking it, hoping some good sound comes out. Well, I would never know because I've seen you play, and when you played at the Ryman, and I never would have guessed that you had issues. But I'm not a piano guy, so I mean,
Well,
I
also that was a song that Sam and I wrote the music to. So the arrangement of it, no one was going to yell at me for playing it wrong,
okay, that's true.
which was a big part of my early childhood and piano experience, was having a mean piano teacher and not particularly compassionate parents in terms of why aren't you good enough fast enough. And the fact was, I was way ahead of anybody who I was who were like my kid contemporaries, but it was not a really nurturing situation.
Well, as you know, I took sitar lessons for 2 years, and I've heard that some sitar teachers can be really, really rough. Now, Ustad Imrat Khan was not. He was a very, if you practiced, he knew, and he knew when you didn't practice. And if you showed up and you'd practice, he was like, good enough. Let's go over it again. But I was actually afraid to come in, even though as nice as he was, I was afraid to come in not having practiced my lesson because he would know, because a true expert will know. And there was one or two times where I came in and he kind of didn't say nothing. I got like, this dude knows I didn't practice. But that leads me to my next. You might have already answered this. What motivated you to pursue conducting an orchestra? Because that's not something that's something that seems so completely unattainable to me that I wouldn't even put that on my list as something to do. But yet you're doing it with Parkinson's, no doubt.
Well, I started conducting for money in 1979. I'm old, man.
I was born in '76.
So there you go. Um, I really did it by pure chance, by pure luck. I had never done it before. I had been invited out to dinner with a, a very, I don't know that you'll know him, but you'll certainly know his family, Eddie Fisher.
Oh yeah, yeah, Eddie. I know Eddie. That's Princess Leia's mom.
Dad.
Dad. Sorry. Got Parkinson's. I guess slipped up there.
Although some people thought she was the dad. But anyway, he was firing his conductor because the conductor lived in Florida and I lived in New York and whatever. And we had dinner. I wouldn't even call this an audition. He was staying at Carrie, his daughter's apartment, and we like sang some tunes. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning, got in a cab, and my friend calls me and he said, "Do you want to be Eddie's conductor?" And I'm like, "Okay, why not?" I
What's
don't
it
really
pay?
have
Yeah, what's it pay?
exactly what it pay. And those days it was $500 when we were on the road and $200 when we were off. And in 1979, my friend.
So that's pretty good money. I mean, hell, I didn't make that much when I played, and I was the lead singer. So yeah,
Yeah.
top places you played, top gigs that like that when you make a greatest hits of your concert place, something like Red Rocks or something like that. Some of the greatest places you played, most memorable gigs.
Wembley Stadium.
Oh, you played Wembley? Holy crap.
Madison Square Garden the first time you do it. Oh, the Hollywood Bowl.
Okay, yeah, yep.
I mean, I'm just thinking of places that are spectacular to play. Like when you look out, you're looking at something spectacular.
Well, Wembley isn't Wembley like 85,000 seats or something like that.
Yeah.
Now you played the Ryman. Now the Ryman's a much smaller, but a very. I've been to the Ryman once. I saw Oasis with Zach Starkey, and the acoustics in that place were amazing.
Yeah. Well, also, the Ryman is like going to church.
Yes.
It's a different, I mean, I've never done the Ryman. Well, actually, that was the only time I did the Ryman.
When you played with Sam Wade for the
Yeah.
the COVID charity
Yeah,
lockdown. Yeah, the
yeah,
musician.
the COVID concert.
Why do you say?
Yeah.
Why do you say the first time you play Madison Square Garden, it's amazing? It's kind of diminishing returns when you come back.
Well, I think it's because the first time you're going, wow, I'm playing Madison Square
I'm
Garden,
playing the Garden. Yeah,
and like who has played here before?
everybody.
Excuse the pun. Uh, and you're that there are 22,000 crazy people out there, which isn't the most people you'll ever play for,
Nope.
but at all. But you have stood. I mean, Philharmonic Hall in New York is a little bit like that too. I mean, I was standing on Leonard Bernstein's podium. He was long dead, but I was standing on his podium, and you sort of turn around and you go, "Wow!" Like, not even for me, not even because I think our mutual friend will tell you I have a pretty self-deprecating ego. So it really wasn't about me. It was about, look at all of you just watching this event that I happen to be involved with.
Like you were saying earlier about Parkinson's, feeling like you were outside your body a little bit. There's got to be a little bit some of that when you're on stage, and it's like it's bigger than you can really grasp in your mind. All the greats had played there: Billy Joel, Zeppelin, Stones.
Well, we were at and I think it probably was my last gig, not because of my Parkinson's, but because of the Who. We were at Royal Albert Hall a couple weeks ago. We did 3 charity shows and in London. And on the last night, I wouldn't say I was overcome with emotion, but I was like, this is a great hall, and this could be it. Having nothing to do with my Parkinson's. Just that the Who is, 200 years old.
That's true. I mean, when I saw them, they put on a really good show. But I imagine for somebody, I mean, Roger, what's he, 80 now? That's got to be brutal on. I mean, he's an old man. You forget how old these guys are until you. I'm sure backstage they got their massage and their Bengay and their vocal therapies. I mean,
Yeah, no, actually, Pete has none of that because Pete doesn't care and he doesn't sing.
oh,
I mean, really, if you again, I'm not saying anything out of school. He has a couple of articles out this week where he fesses up. He so says, I do Who tours to make money, not because I enjoy them or I particularly enjoy Roger.
well, I think here's my theory. I think the longer you play with somebody, you either get really close or you begin to despise each other just from the sheer amount of time you're around them. I mean, just like in a marriage, I love my wife, but if we're on a road trip and we're in a car for 18 hours, we are, and it's like, and to know that no, I love you, Naomi, I love you, Naomi, but she would say the same thing. And I mean, just like, and then the stress of being on stage and the finances. I mean, like the Beatles broke up over money. You know that. I mean, it's like the finances, the stress, the personal. I mean, maybe the dude's got bad breath. Maybe, I heard Mick Jagger got pissed off because Keith Richards, when he used to smoke, that Mick had to have little air filters around so that he wouldn't breathe in. I mean, just the little
Yeah.
stuff that would drive you insane. But
Well, that sounds about right.
so your last gig, you kind of welled up a little bit, just looking back
No,
over your life and everything and how much you'd accomplished.
no,
Was it
no.
different?
It was different. It was more like, is this really? It was very Who centric. It was like, is this really the end of the Who? Like, have we just done our last show?
It was a moment in history, maybe.
Maybe.
They broke up before, but at the time the clock is ticking.
Well, now, I mean, forget broke up. How about broken apart? I mean, it's just, and then you go, on the other hand, Roger is singing as well as he's sung.
Well, what was the first record you ever bought? This one is really interesting to me. The first time that you can remember, you went into the store, probably got a little 45, or maybe got an album.
Oh, it was probably like Mott the Hoople.
That's a band I hear the name a lot, and I've heard a couple songs, but I've never really dug into them.
They were good songs. And then I had the whole like Carole King, James Taylor side of me.
My wife loves James Taylor.
Yeah, we saw him out here last fall. He was phenomenal.
Okay, I've got one here. Now you probably have got to maybe I don't know if you want to answer this one. You can fake the names if you need to, but you got any good behind the scenes rock and roll stories like that you can do anonymously, or if there's something that's public knowledge that's not a secret? Because I'm sure, or you could just titillate us and tell us all the stuff you wish you could tell us that you saw.
You may have to wait for the book. And I need a few more people to die. But
spoken like a true man, true honest man.
Yeah, I mean,
we can maybe when some of these people pass away, we can do another show. I mean, well, just tell me
Absolutely.
this.
At that point, I'll be begging to do this.
Just tell me this, and if it's a yes, don't say anything. Has there ever been like the whole dead hooker scenario, or is that kind of like an exaggeration?
In my life, that's an exaggeration. I mean, I've seen some, not even a lot. I've seen some funky things.
I'm sure you have backstage.
Not, it's not like it's been, I may have come around the rock and roll world as a conductor, performer, whatever it is I do. I may have been a little too late.
Oh, you mean they shut all that crap down by the time you got there?
Well,
smartphones and all that.
That and or they didn't have them yet. Like it wasn't 20,000 people with a smartphone.
Yes.
Everything wasn't on YouTube. I mean, that's almost become part of our society, right? Where you go, oh, well, I won't go to that show because it'll be on YouTube tomorrow.
That's disappointing. I don't go to that show because I have Parkinson's. I mean, but you saw how much
right.
I had to struggle to get down to that Who show. And if that's my last show, then I went out with the bang because that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, I think people just they want like watching it on your damn phone is not the same as being there. I want to feel the bass like humming through me. I want to feel the kick drum, like the air hole from the kick drum blowing my face. I want to feel the scream of the guitars and the thud of the bass and
Yeah, I mean, I could never like sit at home and watch a YouTube of a concert on my phone.
No.
I could watch 2 minutes, particularly if it was somebody, either an acquaintance, a friend, or somebody who I was interested in. But to sit down and like watch a concert because it's going to be on YouTube, no thanks.
You know what's really annoying to me? I got a record collection, as you can see. I got a couple records behind me. I'll turn on my records, or my wife will turn them on, depending on how stable I am. And people will get out their phone and start playing clips of other music. I'm like, dude, I've got music on. I don't want to see some third-hand clip of some dude in the nosebleed sections of. It's like, I don't know that. Don't get me started on that, Keith. I'm preaching now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. This could give me a little bit of insight and maybe some of what you know, but what is one musician, alive or dead, that you would want by your side in a bar fight? You're going in.
I thought about this question. Roger Daltrey.
Yeah, from what I understand, he was a fighter. That's what they said in his book. He was always getting into crap.
Yeah, I even at 80 years old, I'd still want him in the foxhole. The other choice was Meatloaf.
Oh yeah, I bet that dude could pack a wallop.
Yeah.
Okay, and I do this. We got one question left, and I do this for everybody. And I hope you thought about this. If you were going to be a pro wrestler, what would your WWE stage name be?
Levenson, the Latka. Do you know what a Latka is?
Oh yeah, Latka. Yeah. It's like the Jewish Latka soup.
Yeah, it's a knish.
Yes. Yeah, I had a real good friend that I used to work with. He passed on, sadly. His name was Shay, and he was Jewish. He was the one Jewish guy in the whole warehouse. And me and him, I would go over to his house and help him. I loved Shay. I miss Shay. He was such a good guy. But yeah, I think he actually taught me to make matzo ball soup.
There you go.
All right, Keith. Well, if you want, let's chat a little bit afterward. But I'm gonna end the show, okay?
Okay.
For another fantastic episode of Not Just Parkinson's, I'm Jeremy saying peace and love from the city of St. Louis.